Welcome back. Or if this is your first time here, welcome. Pull up a chair, get comfortable. This is Various Views. I'm Mia Maya, and I speak to men from the female perspective. Not to soften you, not to scold you, but because you deserve to understand something that most of the world will never bother explaining honestly. Today, we're going into the deep end, and I need you present for this one. Before we get into it, if something I say today lands for you, do me a favor. Push that thumbs up. It tells the universe and the algorithm to send more of this your way. And if you haven't already, subscribe. I put real thought into every episode, and I want it in your feed when you need it most. All right, let's begin. I want you to imagine something. Picture a man walking into a room. Not announcing himself, not scanning for reactions. He moves with a particular kind of ease, like the room already belongs to him. And he knows it, and he's not even thinking about it. He makes eye contact when he speaks. He doesn't reach for approval in his sentences. He asks for what he wants clearly, and when he doesn't get it, he nods, smiles, and goes on living. Now, picture a different man. Maybe he looks similar on the surface. Same posture, maybe, same tailored presence. But watch him for 5 minutes. Watch how his energy shifts when she laughs at something that isn't him. Watch how he pivots the conversation. Watch how he tracks her eyes when she looks away. Watch the silence, how he can't quite sit in it, how he fills it, how he needs it to mean something specific, and when it doesn't, his whole atmosphere changes. 2 men, 1 room, 1 force, 2 very different relationships with it. That force is what we're here to talk about today. Confidence and control, they wear similar clothing. They speak a similar language. And if you've been confusing one for the other, I understand why. Most men have. Most men were never taught the difference. And that confusion, it has cost more than a few of you something you didn't even know you were losing. Let me tell you what confidence actually is, because I think the word has been domesticated, softened into something Instagram-friendly and hollow. Real confidence is self-possession. It means you have gathered yourself. All of you, the part that's brilliant, the part that sometimes stumbles, the part that's been burned, the part that doesn't always know what to say. You've gathered all of it, looked at it honestly, and decided, this is mine, and I am not ashamed of it. Confidence is ownership of the self. When you own yourself, you don't need her to confirm it. You don't need her to respond in a specific way for the night to have meaning. You don't need her admiration to remind you that you're worth something. You already know. And here's the thing about that knowledge. It's quiet. It doesn't need applause. It settles in a man like a low note in music. You feel it before you can name it. Women feel it the moment you enter the room. There's a reason we talk about a man's presence. We say, he has presence. Not, he has compliments. Not, he has a strategy. Presence. Presence is what happens when a person is fully, genuinely here. In their body, in their mind, in their skin, without apology and without performance. It is the single most magnetic quality a human being can possess, and it cannot be faked. Oh, men try. We've all seen the approximation. The rehearsed cool, the borrowed swagger, the calculated pause before a line that's been practiced 6 times in a bathroom mirror. It can fool some people for a little while, but not for long, and it never fools the ones you actually want to impress. A woman with any emotional intelligence at all can feel the difference between a man who is present and a man who is performing presence. The way you can feel the difference between sunlight and a photograph of sunlight. One warms you, one is just light on paper.
Now let's talk about his shadow. Control. I want to be very precise here, because I am not talking about a man who is disciplined. I am not talking about a man who sets standards and holds them. I am not talking about a man who leads, who makes decisions, who has conviction. That's still confidence. That's the same root. What I'm talking about is the impulse, sometimes conscious, often not, to manage someone else's experience because you are afraid of your own. Control is what happens when confidence has a hole in it. When a man doesn't fully trust himself, doesn't fully own himself, he starts reaching outward. He tries to position his partner so that she stays in a configuration that doesn't threaten him. He monitors her mood as data about his own worth. He interrupts her autonomy, subtly sometimes, to keep the narrative safe. And this is where it gets interesting, because control doesn't always look like what you imagine.
It doesn't always announce itself in volume or force. Sometimes it's the opposite. Control can be very, very quiet. Control can look like attentiveness taken 1 degree too far. It can look like remembering every small thing she said and using it not to honor her, but to maintain positioning. It can look like gift giving that is really about obligation building. It can look like humor designed to keep her slightly off balance, always reaching for his approval. Control is manipulation's quiet cousin. And the tragedy, the real tragedy, is that men who move this way are not evil. They are afraid. They are insecure in the most fundamental sense, insecure in themselves. They have not yet done the work of self-possession, so they compensate by trying to possess someone else. And women feel this too. Oh, we feel it. It doesn't feel like love, even when it's dressed as love, even when it's dressed as protectiveness or passion or depth of feeling. There is a quality to controlled attention that is airless, like being in a room where all the windows are shut. Warm, maybe, but suffocating. I want to take you inside something for a moment. When a woman is with a confident man, truly confident, self-possessed, there is a particular quality to the experience. It feels like being seen without being assessed. There is an openness in his attention. He's curious about you, genuinely curious, but he's not grading you. He's not measuring you against his needs. He just looks and listens, and his eyes don't have an agenda. You can breathe in that. You can be imperfect in that. You can be strange or messy or uncertain, and it doesn't destabilize him because his stability lives inside him. It doesn't depend on you behaving a certain way. That is intoxicating. I'll say that plainly. There is nothing in the romantic catalog more intoxicating to a woman than a man who doesn't need you to manage him, a man who has already handled himself. Now, the other experience, when a woman is with a controlling man, even a sophisticated one, there's a particular quality to that too. It starts, sometimes, as intensity. It can be mistaken for passion. He is so focused, so attentive, remembers everything, anticipates things. It can feel, at first, like being the center of someone's universe. But over time, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, a woman starts to feel the weight of that attention. It isn't attention freely given. It's attention with architecture. And inside that architecture, she slowly realizes she has very little room to move. She can't have a bad day without it meaning something about him. She can't have friendships he didn't sanction. She can't have opinions that don't align. She can't even have full privacy in her own mind because he's always reading the room, always recalibrating, always finding new angles to recenter himself. She stops feeling seen. She starts feeling watched. And love cannot live in surveillance. It needs open air. It needs trust.
It needs the freedom to stay by choice, not by management. So, why does this confusion happen? Why do intelligent, capable men collapse the two, mistake the shadow for the light? A few reasons, and I say them with compassion, not judgment. First, most men were never taught emotional self-sufficiency. You were taught to perform, to achieve, to build external things. You were not, in most cases, taught how to sit with the uncomfortable weight of uncertainty inside yourself. You were not taught that fear is survivable without immediately acting on it. You were not taught that you can feel destabilized, feel threatened, feel insufficient, and simply hold that feeling without rewriting the room to feel safe again. When that capacity is missing, control becomes the coping mechanism. It is a strategy for emotional survival that was built in conditions where no better strategy was available. Second, culture has romanticized the possessive. How many films has a woman watched and enjoyed and wanted, where the male lead does something that is functionally controlling but cinematically coded as passion? He comes back after she said no. He makes grand gestures that override her stated needs. He is intense, obsessive, consuming. And in the narrative, that is desire. We are both victims of this story. You learned to perform it. We learned to want it. And then it collides with real life. And real life does not have a score beneath it. Real life does not fade to black at the right moment. And the thing that looked like desire on screen starts to feel like a cage in practice. Third, control produces short-term results. This is the seductive part, and I won't pretend it isn't real. The tactics of emotional control, manufactured scarcity, strategic withdrawal, the hot and cold current, they produce a response. They create attachment, they create pursuit, they create what looks like desire. But it is not desire. It is anxiety wearing desire's face. A woman chasing a man who runs hot and cold is not in love. She is on a trauma loop. She is trying to resolve the unresolvable inconsistency. She is not drawn to him. She is hooked. And there is a profound difference. One opens a person, one damages them. And here is the question I want to leave quietly in your mind. What kind of man do you want to be? The kind who opens people or the kind who hooks them? Let's talk about the actual work, because confidence is not a mood. It is not a vibe you put on before you leave the house. It is a practice. Self-possession is built through self-confrontation. It means looking honestly at your fears and calling them by name, not performing indifference, not burying them in achievement or distraction or substances. Actually asking, what am I afraid of? What am I trying to protect? What would happen if I just let it be uncertain? Self-possession is built through tolerance of discomfort, specifically the discomfort of not knowing if she's interested, not knowing how she feels, not knowing if it's going to work. The confident man tolerates that space. He doesn't rush to fill it. He doesn't manufacture information to manage his anxiety. He sits in the open air of uncertainty and keeps his posture. Self-possession is built through standards you hold for yourself, not others. This is a crucial distinction. A confident man has high standards, but those standards are about how he shows up, not about how others must behave to keep him comfortable. He knows what he will and won't accept, and when something is unacceptable, he steps back with dignity, not as a tactic, but as an honest reflection of his values. Self-possession is built through presence. This is the daily practice of being in the room you are actually in, not curating your